and I know it's an area that you're an expert in. You spent the best part of your life doing that and writing books on the subject. What are some of the quick tips you could give to personal trainers relating to marketing and how they can employ some of these things to make their marketing a little bit more effective?
Okay, well, we could be here all day talking on that, and I know our video is not going to last that long.
Of course, yeah.
So I think what might be an idea is if I just maybe select one or two things which probably one won't normally have thought about,
yes,
and all related to an older person. And one of the things which happens as one ages, and we all know about the change in the body and senses, but is cognitive change.
Yes.
And one of the things that happens is it gets harder to filter out sort of extraneous information.
Yes.
And so, what does that mean to the way the personal trainer operates? And it means that simplicity in terms of dialogue, simplicity in terms of website, in terms of marketing material, being the clarity with which one's expressing the issues that one's putting over. And I always use the example of, say, Google or Apple.
Yes.
You look at the way in which that their websites are incredibly simple.
Yes.
They concentrate on one or two things, in Google's case, just that search bar in the middle. They don't litter the place up with lots of other stuff. So we all suffer from that. I put too much stuff. I try and get 2-minute messages over, but it's really trying to condense them down. Yes. It gets harder for an older person to get those out. Two other things which probably are not that obvious. One is, I look at myself, hearing becomes an issue for for a large number of older people, and particularly for female trainers. My trainer, I know I have to often say sorry. Can you say that again? Because the female voice gets harder to hear.
Yes.
And
so would that relate to things like if they were doing videos online, making sure the quality is really good to people, because that's part of the marketing, isn't it?
It's the quality, but also just in terms of the way in which you're talking to your client. In a noisy gym environment, one of the problems is it gets harder and harder to differentiate the spoken voice, and it gets harder, particularly for a female, for a man to understand the female voice.
Right.
So, and it sounds ridiculously simple, but it can be quite difficult, rather than keeping saying pardon, I don't hear. For companies, retailers, we talk about till staff and checkout staff. There it becomes incredibly important. So that's the whole hearing thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is eyesight. And the one thing we know about short-sightedness, we know about large fonts or larger fonts, not huge fonts. But one of the other issues is illumination. And one of the problems I have, and most people have with eyesight, is it gets harder and harder to see in darker conditions. Yeah. So it's just something to bear in mind. But one thing which is to also be bore in mind with that, it gets harder to drive at night.
It's okay.
So just from the way in which you organise your client, you will maybe people might not want to say this to you as a trainer, but nighttime driving, as you get older, can get a lot harder.
That's a very interesting point. Yeah.
So it's just beware, because we don't want to own up to all of these things.
Sure.
But that's the sort of issue. So there's 101 things we could talk about, the general things of marketing, but there's 2 or 3 things which you probably wouldn't normally think about.
And just to speak about, you've already touched on this, use of technical jargon. We mentioned Sacropenia, and one of the things I see, especially the young, newly qualified trainers, very, very keen to give people lots and lots of technical. And you may have heard it in the gym yourself. The new trainer, all the technical jargon. Just speak a bit about how they can maybe modify that.
Well, don't do it, I think, it's a simple answer. There's lots of things that are going on there. Firstly, I think gyms can be kind of daunting for all ages, particularly if someone is slightly overweight or such like. So there's a condition that the person is going to have, and they will be there for 1 or 2 reasons. They don't want to know everything. They don't want to know the details of everything. Sure. They just want to know how is it going to work for them. Yes. And so I guess the first thing is it's not speaking, it's listening, and that's the starting point, which is to really understand why the person walked through the door, initiated the contact. And I know this is kind of common sense stuff, but maybe we don't all do it
No,
as
no,
much as we should.
Yep.
And so understanding that, and then only delivering the information to the person that's going to be relevant to them at the time. In the future, of course, you can talk about all these other marvellous things you can do, but
yes.
what's the relevant information to them? And as you said, jargon and such like. And it's not just the technical jargon of training, it's also the language that maybe a younger person might be, just the day-to-day language may not be the same type of language that an older person would be using. So just be conscious of that.
Yes.
You know, they're not a different breed of person. They have their own children and such like. But it's just being conscious of being clear and just trying to keep the language as neutral as you can.
Fantastic, Dick. Really appreciate you taking the time today to do this interview, and I know it's going to be useful to me and for the people listening. If they want more information about Dick Stroud and your books, can you give us one specific website that they can go to get more information? Really spell that out for us.
Okay, so one website, www.20plus30, that's 20plus30.com, 20plus30.com.
Fantastic. Dick, thank you for your time.
Good, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great. That sounds fine.
So why don't we start by talking about the first bit, which I've just forgotten what it was. But as this is a test anyway.
Indeed it's a test, yeah. That's one of the first signs of mental loss. Don't worry, Erik.
Okay.